So I'm interested to know, how did you actually start your professional career?
Yes, my father, Sajjad Sarwar Niazi, he used to be a director in Radio Pakistan, and all the poets and artists and drama artists and singers and you name it, because he was a director, he used to be in constant touch with them, and they used to be around him really, because he used to be doing programs, arranging programs for them. So I remember one of the poets, he came from Lahore. We were based in Karachi then, and my dad was very proud of the fact that I could sing. So any guest that used to come, I was a child, and he would say, "Why don't you sing to Uncle so and so? And you must listen to her, she sings very well." So I would sing to them. So this was a poet, and I sang for him. And he turned around and he said to my dad, he said, "I know she's very young, she's a child at the moment, but she sings as though she really sings well in a mature way. Why don't you let her sing for the films?" And my dad was really annoyed with him, again being Pathan, he said, "No, no, no, no." He said, "No, she is only singing to you, okay? Don't confuse it. She's not going to sing for films. We don't sing for films." So that was it, But later on, he again, wrote to him from Lahore and said, "Seriously, you're not taking it seriously. They want good singers, and please let her come." So he got in touch with one of the producers, and one of the producers, that was Anwar Kamal Pasha, and he actually contacted my dad in Karachi. He was in Lahore, because the film industry was in Lahore. And he said, "Can you please let us have your daughter sing for one of our films?" So my dad was really thinking hard. And then he said, "Okay, you know what?" He said to my mom, "She can go. I will take her. I will take 1 week's leave. I will take her to Lahore. And she can sing as many as she can for that 1 week." Because he was still working, for the radio. He was still there. And then I'll bring her back. And number 2, she will not sing in her own name. A name will be given to her, and she will sing in that name. That was the way things used to happen, even in the West.
Sure.
People used to have other names. And he said she will have this other name, because he was afraid, that the family would come to know and they would really, really feel bad about it and they would mind it. So he thought, it's not even facing the camera or anything at all, it's just a voice. So nobody will really know.
Sure.
And if the name is different, then of course they will not know. And that's what happened. So I went there. He took me there. But unfortunately, my throat became hoarse. So we had to, a few days I had to rest. By that time he said, "I'm going back." And he left me with one of our uncles, in Lahore. And he said, "Well, it's your duty now to take her to the studios, and she can sing, and then she can come back." So that was the deal. And my uncle went with me for my first rehearsal, and of course I was host. And the producer came in, and the music director came in, and they said, "Would you like to sing for us?" And I'm just a little, thingy sitting there. I was very, very shy. So I tried to, but then I said, "My throat is hoarse. My throat is really hoarse." So you see, I could see their faces change. And then the producer said to the music director, "Can you come? Can you come in?" So they both left the room, they went inside. Later on I found out that the producer said to the music director, "You know what? The tape that they sent us was somebody else singing. It's a hoax. Now she's sitting there. She's just so babyish looking, and how can she sing like that? She can't. So what are they trying to do? Making fools out of us or what?" In any case, my father had a name, so they couldn't really be, so blunt. So they said to my uncle, "When she's rested why don't you bring her in tomorrow and then we'll try again. So that's what happened. Then I went in tomorrow, the tomorrow that was to come. I went in there and I sang. So the music director was actually very pleased. I could see, that he was exchanging looks with the director. And he said, "Oh, yeah, you are good. You are good." This was Rashida Tre. The music director was the great Rashida Tre. I didn't know them. I had just gone in from the convent, and I didn't know these people. My dad did, but I didn't. So I'm sitting there, right, that's Rashida Tre, and he said, "You know what, we'll need to do a lot of work on you. We'll need to give you rehearsal for at least 2-3 weeks." So I sat there and I'm feeling very disappointed. 2-3 weeks? I thought I'd be, I'm so wonderful that I'll start singing, the minute I open my mouth. They'll teach me a song and I'll start singing. That wasn't happening. I was very, very disappointed. So I'm sitting there, with my eyes down. And they said, "Right, then tomorrow you come at this time." So it was arranged. My uncle said, "Okay." So my uncle and I, we left in the car they provided and we went home. When we went home, in the morning, my uncle receives a call. This is very interesting. Now this music director, the great Rashida Tre, I respect him a lot. He was a great music director. He is trying to give me 2-3 weeks of rehearsal, making me ready for the song, which is fair enough. And here comes the call. And my uncle has taken the call, and then he comes to me and he says, "This is amazing. We have been called in by another great music director, and he's just found out that it's Mr. Niazi's daughter here. And he happens to be very close to Mr. Niazi because he used to work for the Radio Pakistan as well.
Okay.
Actually All India Radio. And then he said he's called us in, so we are going there today before we go for the rehearsal, the other rehearsal. That was later in the day.
Okay.
So I got ready and we went to this music director. And this music director, when I entered his office, we both entered his office. Oh, there was this smell of Tosca. You know this perfume, Tosca?
Okay.
And I thought, oh, this is a special place, But of course, I was so shy, I just didn't look up. So we sat down, and he said, "Oh, so she sings. Okay." You see, it was hard for them to understand, because I was so small looking that they must have thought, "Goodness me, this is just a little child, how can she do it?" So he said, "All right." He didn't seem very sure, When he looked at me, he didn't seem very sure. So he said, "Okay, I'm going to sing this song for you. And you just repeat whatever I say, you repeat after." And usually people, the music directors, not usually but it was done, all the music directors would play on the harmonium as accompaniment. And they played themselves, and then there would be another person there on the tabla, which is the drums, the percussion, and then they would rehearse. So he said a line, and I repeated it. He was slightly surprised. So he said another line, and with him the accompaniment was not the harmonium, it was a sarangi. Sarangi is a stringed instrument, which belongs to our part, India, Pakistan. And the sarangi is playing, and so he says the other line, and I repeat that. His face is getting a little bit amazed. Then he sings the third line, I say it. So this happened, he kept saying the lines, line by line, he's singing the song, and I'm singing, He had given me the words, of course. I'm reading the words and I'm singing away. And as we finished, he said, "That's it. That's it. this song is ready. And I'm staring at his face, this song is ready. You know, because I'm thinking, the other music director said, I need to be rehearsed for at least 2 or 3 weeks. And here is this person saying, you know, that the song is ready, it's ready to be recorded, and that's it. And so my uncle said, really? And he said, yes. My uncle was very amused, very pleased. And he said, right. So when are you recording this? And he said, tomorrow. So my uncle said, tomorrow? He said, yes, tomorrow. And now he said, I have to go because I have to rehearse this with the orchestra and get it ready for tomorrow. Because tomorrow morning you are coming to Shanur Studios. So I didn't realize all this, you know. This was my first song, and I did not know that before singers went into the studio to record the song, the music director would first rehearse with the orchestra for 3 days. For 3 days, and they would have a first rehearsal, and then they would have a second rehearsal, in which then they would of course be really fine. And then on the third rehearsal, the singer would go in and sing with the orchestra. I was not aware of all that. So for me, it was nothing, you know. My uncle didn't know this procedure either. So we said, yeah, fine. He said, fine, you know, we'll be in the studios tomorrow. He said, you come in the morning. Maybe it was 10 o'clock, he said, or 11 o'clock. I'm not sure. But I'm so excited, you know, oh gosh, you know, my first song is going to be recorded. And we go in the morning. And I find an orchestra sitting there. So I'm amazed, you know. I'm looking at all the orchestra, I'm looking at all the violins. I'm pretending not to look, but I'm looking.
Sure.
And it's all the violins and all the percussion and all the bass and the, you know, it was too much to take in. All the flutes and the clarinets and this, that and the other, you know, full orchestra is sitting there. And then the music director comes in and says, right, we're going to have a rehearsal. And he asks them to start playing. And believe you me, to sit there and have an orchestra really give life to a song that I was going to sing, that was the most amazing part, you know. And I'm sitting there, and I'm sure my eyes were going wide, and this orchestra is playing, you know, because he had rehearsed with them. And this orchestra is playing, and then they play for 1, 2, 3 times, and then he says, right, you're ready? He calls me. I sit next to him. And he says, okay, let's sing now. You know, that's how it happened. And there I am, not realizing actually, you know, that it never happens like this.
Right.
I'm quite full of myself and I'm so satisfied. And then I'm standing there, and this was January the 11th. We reached Lahore on January the 7th. It was bitterly cold. We didn't have central heating in those days. We just had very, you know, these small 2-bar heaters, electric heaters, and then they had fire going on, you know, in the fireplaces, whatever. And the studios were totally so cold. And I'm in this terribly, terribly cold studio. And I'm standing there, and as I start singing, my hands, you know, they never perspire. They were actually dripping. Dripping. I mean, this was really amazing. They were dripping, my hands. And I'm standing there with my dripping hands because I was really nervous, but I sang that song. And that song was Mil Gaya Dil Ko Qarar. That's it.